Recording in progress.
Yeah, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Yeah. So today, without wasting much of our time, we'll continue with the topic we started about three sessions ago, and today is the fourth session. So today we'll be looking at the components of the built environment and how these components interact. The last class we looked at the component of the natural environment, right? So today it is the built environment, which we otherwise refer to as the man-made um, environment, right? So a quick recap. Can you tell me briefly again what you understand by the natural environment? And
The
then,
nat
okay, go on.
the natural environment is all the spheres connecting together. The biosphere is all living things. The lithosphere is like the underground. The atmosphere is like all gases and air. Hydrosphere is water. Pedosphere is like the soil, and then cryosphere is like frozen ice.
All right, good. That's a good one. But just a little bit adjustment. The lithosphere is the solid part, while the pedosphere is the layers. Okay,
Mhm.
good. That's a good one. So quickly, the picture you see on the screen. Look through all the pictures and tell me what type of environments each each of them represents.
All of them are like they're basically all man-made because every single one of them shows like what man has built on top of nature, and even like the third and the fourth one, it shows how like humans can like make farms on top of like nature too.
Correct. That's
Mhm.
impressive. Yeah. So all the pictures simply portrays the built environment. Okay.
Mhm.
So that leads us to what the question of what is the built environment. So the built environment, which we otherwise refer to as the man-made environment, is the collection of structures and spaces created by humans to support their activities and needs. You know, human being cannot exist without the natural environment. So we find ourselves living in the natural environment, and to a large extent, as humans, we have to harness or use the natural environment to the best of our own satisfactions. Okay, are you with me?
Yep.
Yeah. So the humans build the man-made environment by modifying and influencing the natural environment. What do we mean by modify? We create it the way we want. We make changes to it to suit our taste, okay? To give us some form of comfortability. And then humans do influence the natural environment through activities like constructions, agriculture, and industrialization. From the picture you saw uh, earlier, you could see how humans have influenced the natural environment through different activities like constructions. You know, this is the built structure. They've built skyscrapers. The second one shows industrial space. And then the other one, the third and the fourth one shows agricultural activities going on within the natural environment. And then the fifth one shows bridges built upon water, right? And then the last one shows variations of structures that human being has erected. So we'll move to the next slide, which says man as the principal agent of the built environment. Man plays a huge role in building the environment. Without man's impact, nothing can be built. Okay, nothing can be influenced. If man refuses or chooses not to influence the environment, then the environment will remain in its original state. Okay, but because we need to build the environment and make it comfortable for to our own taste and to what we think or we feel gives us comfort, then there is the need for humans to influence the environment. So humans plays a central and active role as a major component of the environment, okay? So how do they play this role? They serve as the creators and the designers of the built environment, okay? Man imagines, they design and they build, okay? They also maintain and manage what they have created, because everything needs maintenance. Okay, if you don't maintain it, it it is bound to be destroyed. Then man modifies. That means they make changes and then they remain the final decision makers. So in a nutshell, man serves as the creator and the users and the regulators of everything you can find within the natural environment. Okay? So what are now the components of the natural environment? The components are split into five. So we have the building and structures, we have the transportation systems, we have the infrastructure and services, we have the industries and technologies, and then we have the rural and urban settlements. Okay, those are the five major components of the built environment. So each of these components has its examples. As you can see on the screen, for building and structures, we have houses, schools, offices, and bridges, right? For transportation systems, we have roads, railways, airports, and vehicles. For infrastructures and services, we have electricities, water supply, drainage system, sewage systems. For industries and technologies, we have factories, machines, communication systems, and for the urban and rural settlements, we have cities, towns, and villages. So I want you to look closely and carefully at each of these examples, because as we proceed today, you're going to give me more examples under each component, okay? So I'll give you like a minute or two to look at those examples, so that when it is time for you to give me more examples, you would have a good clue or idea of what the examples should be. If you're ready, let me know.
I'm ready.
Good. So we'll move to the next slide. In the next slide, you can see pictures, right? And
Hmm.
each of these pictures has been labeled. And each of these pictures is in line with the components of the built environment. You know, we have
Hmm.
highlighted five major components of the built environment. Can you mention these five to me?
The first one is building and structure. The second one is transportation systems. The third one is infrastructure and services. The fourth one is industry and technology. And the fourth, the fourth and the fifth one, or the fifth and sixth one are urban and rural settlements.
Good. So all of these components, like I said, makes up the built environment. Okay. And we have examples. I've listed some of the examples on the previous slide. So I would like you to give me more examples of under each of these components. I want you to put it in the chat box. Put some of these examples in the chat box. So I need you to, before you put them on the chat box, you tell me this component has the following examples, okay?
Okay. The first one is like transportation, and
O-
then
Okay,
so the
transportation
second one.
system. Okay, so you
The
have two,
second one's also transportation, and then the third one is um building, like
building and
settle.
infrastructures, okay?
Hmm. Um,
Building and structures, okay? So we have the third one. The third component is what?
the third one is building and structures.
No, we have building and structures as the first one. You've given me an
Hmm.
example of building and structures, houses. That's an example that I've given earlier. I want you to give an example that is outside of what I've given earlier for building and structures? I can give you an hint. You know, we have hospitals, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I already mentioned in my previous examples that we have houses, schools, offices, bridges. So I've given you one example, hospitals. What other examples can we have under building and structures?
Here's two of them.
Yeah, okay. Hospitals, banks, exactly, banks. Okay, so you've given me on transportation system. I want you to give me one more transportation system that we may have. We have road, railway, air, vehicles. You mentioned cars. You also mentioned train, okay, railway. Give me one example of infrastructure services. You know, do you understand what infrastructure services are?
Like places that like are like the cities.
No, no, no. Infrastructure services are the services that are rendered within the environment, okay? Like sewage system. You know, in our homes, we have sewer lines that carries
Mhm.
our sewage into a particular manhole and into a big container that is often built underground. We also have waste disposals, okay? We also have electricities. Without electricities, our buildings would not function. Without electricities, we cannot live life comfortably. Do you understand? Okay, you've given me one, gas. Do you understand? Gas is an infrastructural service, okay? We have gas in terms of how we use it in our kitchens, and we also have it in terms of how we use fuel for to power our automobiles. Okay. So can you give me another examples for industries and technologies? Looking at the examples on the slide, you know, in industries and technologies, from the examples I gave you, I said we have factories, machines, and communication systems. What other thing do you think we have in under industries and technology?
Um, like
It could be any
mm,
production company, okay?
like Amazon.
Yeah, Amazon, because they provide variation of things that human beings need, okay? Almost
Hmm.
anything you can think of. Amazon work in line in relationship with different companies that produces what human beings need, okay? Then the last one, which is urban and settlements. Can you give me some examples that you can have under urbans and settlements, urban and
Like
rural settlements?
could I like name like a town?
No, like the features you can find in the urban settlement and in the rural settlement. Do you know the difference between the urban and rural settlement?
Like
You
no,
know,
not
the
really.
rural settlement, the urban settlement is the city where you have more features, good roads, electricities, hospitals, libraries, and the likes. But the rural settlement is where you have more of farming activities taking place. In some places, you don't have electricities. You have limited hospitals. Do you understand? But in the
I
city,
said
you have hmm,
I said farms.
farms. Yeah, that's in the rural settlement. Good
Hmm.
farms. Yeah. So, what other features you can find in the city? Or in the urban center.
Um, like houses,
Good houses.
buildings and stuff.
Exactly. So if you look at the next slide, you will see more examples that we have under each component. Okay.
Hmm.
Under the built environment, you will see hospitals, shopping malls, hotels, okay, stadiums, libraries, warehouses, apartments, complexes. Under the transportation, you will see subways, slash metro systems, you see bicycles, bicycle lanes, seaports and harbors, ferries and ships, taxis, parking lots and bus terminals. Okay. Then under the urban and rural settlement, you see suburbs, you see industrial towns, You see fishing villages. People in the village, they do more of fishing. You would not really see, if you really want to do fishing, you have to travel to the suburb or the countryside where you will have small rivers, to do that and the likes. And under the infrastructure and services, you have internet. Like the way you and I are communicating now, it is because of the opportunity we have through information technology. Okay. So these are infrastructures and services. Okay. And then the last one, we have industries and technology. We have oil refineries, we have textile factories that makes our clothes and other fabrics. We have food processing plants, places where they process all the foods that we eat. Do you understand? So I want you to look at most of these examples. I can mail some of the examples to you so that you can go through them, so that in our last session, you'll be able to understand more about the components of the built environment and the examples. Okay. So quickly, we'll look at the second to the last slide, and then we'll be rounding up for today. So how do this, the question is, do you think there is any form of interaction between these components of the natural environment?
Yes.
You agree with me, right?
Mm-hmm.
So can you tell me one of the interaction you think exists between these components of of the built environment?
Like they all kind of work together. Like with buildings, we have to transport, like we have to have transportation to go to those buildings.
Exactly.
Um, and then we need like infrastructures for like our home like needs, like water, gas, and stuff like that. And then like the factories, it's like if we like want something, we order it, and then they like the manufacturers, like they give it to us. And then like we're a urban area because we're like in like a city area. So yeah.
So exactly, you said it well. So without any form of interaction between these components, we as humans, we cannot have a full satisfaction to our imaginations, or to whatever it is we have designed or bring to reality. Okay. So there must be some form of interaction between all these components. Like you said, if you build a house and you do not have any means to get to the house, it's as good as not having a house. Okay. So transportation is actually very important for you to move from one location to another. If you build a house and you do not have electricity in the house, you will it will look as if you are living in isolation. Okay. So through the emergence or availability of electricity, you and I are able to have this session right now. Okay. And then through the help of infrastructures and services, which is internet services. Earlier when I called you, you couldn't hear me. Okay. But when you connected to your laptop and you are connected to a proper internet service, you were able to hear me clearly. Okay. This is how these components interact. Okay. So lastly, I want you to reflect on what you have done today and then answer the question on the screen. The question says, what are the main components of the built environment, and which one do you interact with on a daily basis? So tell me again the five major components of the built environment.
Building and structures, um, transportation infrastructure, technology, and urban and rural settlements. And I interact with both transportation and buildings because I go to my house and I get like transported at home and to school.
Good. So you go to school on a daily basis and you come back on a daily basis. And without
Mhm.
transportation, you can't do that. And when you are
Mhm.
coming back from school, you come into your building, right? Into your
Mhm.
house.
Yep.
Without any connection between those, you will just go to school and then come back into an open space. Okay. So today we've come to the end of today's session, and then we'll have one more last session, and that will be on Monday. And then we'll be able to reflect on everything been we have been learning, and then we'll be able to talk briefly about how um, man has actually obstructed the natural environment to its own advantages, and what impacts has this had on man, okay, either positively or negatively. So do you have any question for me before we leave? Okay. Thank you very much, and have a wonderful evening.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.
My regards to your parents.
Mhm.